what? You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
And yes, it is. It is that time on a Saturday where we come together and say hello and welcome to another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I'm Joe D. McPhee here, and we got a special episode here. Hopefully the people who wanted me to do this show up, because they're the ones that have been reading the books that we do for Xigency Studios, and they had questions and they suggested, how did you come up with the universe that you came up with for a lot of the series here? So I'm going to come out here. We're going to, if they show up, we get answered their questions and give you guys some of the more of the behind the scenes of our production for Xigency Studios Incorporated as far as our comic books is concerned. But nevertheless, we do have to get through our business end of things here. So without further ado, we got Stupid O'Clock still happening 1 hour into our show here on Saturdays, starting at 11 p.m. Eastern. Then that gets followed up by Last Man Standing at 1 a.m. Then you get your respite until Monday morning when you have Nicholas Tockert and Nevermind the Furthermore. And let us not forget about Comic Book Spectrum, which has been quite fun, you know, especially since I got back to doing comic book reviews here. There's no guarantee that I will have a review this upcoming week because we have covered Fire and Ice when Hell Freezes Over. I'm trying to see what other more recent books I have here at the house that I could review for you guys here. That is, you know, within like the last, I would say, 6 months on the calendar year that you could go to a comic book store and still get these issues here. But nevertheless, you know, if I don't have something, we're definitely going to have either Cliff or Elaine have some new good stuff to talk about here. So on that note, I guess we're waiting on people to show up here. I really don't want to go into new comic book pickups for the week just as of yet here, but it looks like we got a few more moments here just to make people aware of it here. If you still want us to review your comic, if you want to kind of like a more editorial review either on this show or Comic Book Spectrum, you can reach out to me here by that email address of contact at Xigency Studios, that is xigencystudios.com. You can always say comic book review in the subject line. Include a digital copy of the comic in the email, or you can send me a physical copy at that address below here. I do have a preference for physical copies over digital, just make things easier for review purposes here, for filming and everything here. And as always, we give credit is due. The artist for this version of Elisa Masters is done by J.D. Benefield. So there we go with that here. So I was trying to stall for time, but I guess we're going to go ahead and go right into it. Somebody's about to get ready to miss out on new comic book pickups of the week. And I've been trying to wait for people to show up here. But nevertheless, oh, there they are. Now they're here. It's like, nuh-uh. I'm here. So there we go. There's Beanie and the Sunstrider crew here, all in tow. We're going to put the comments up there as well for them to be able to see that I am reading it at the same time here. So, on that note, let's go ahead and get to it. We got a small stack of books here, starting off with early Jughead books. And when I say early, we're talking about pre-100 Jughead books, such as Jughead 48, and then Jughead 49, which I'm up here, debating if I'm going to get some archival tape because that spine is really bad here. And then we got some New Mutants going on here from Volume 1, which is issue 77. Then I don't know how I came about this one, but I guess this was like either a freebie or something that I won here. Either way, but there it is, Jean Grey number 8. Something out of the ordinary that I normally would not normally pick up here. And then from Volume 5, Wonder Woman 769 here. And then from Volume 1, this is, to me, a better copy than the one that I have here. This is from Volume 1, issue 202. And let me get to some of the comments here. Oh, there he is. There he is. For those who don't know, tonight's episode is pretty much dedicated to this guy right here. PSG Comics, or Psychotronic Squirt Gun Comics here. He was the one that suggested, hey, why don't you come on here and tell us how the universe is formed here for your books? So we're ready for that here. Oh boy, that's funny. But okay. So hopefully you have your questions ready here, because pretty much I'm going to try to answer everything the best that I can. But for right now, let's get back to the books at hand. I do have to say sorry to Beanie here, because I don't know. I'm thinking about keeping this one here. This is the Wizard Special Edition, where it is the Wizard's Guide to Pokemon Catch 'em All. So I got one of those here. I'm not certain if she has one. If she doesn't have one, then I don't know. I was thinking about keeping it for myself, but I don't know. I might not. I don't know. I don't know, but I don't know. It's like, I'm not going to put people out here on the spot. So if he want to do it from the chat, that's perfectly fine. If he doesn't and he wants to jump on, that's fine too. Okay, I will keep it then. And then I got a Darkwing Duck number 8. And surprisingly enough, this is coming from Joe's Books LTT, which is funny. But that is Darkwing Duck number 8. And then we got I want to say this is more or less like a graphic novel / trade paperback, but it's thin for my taste for trades. But it is Gen 13 Medicine Song. And it is a trade, by the way. That is a trade. It's not like a standard issue, but it's not like what I consider a good trade paperback, because it fits in a comic book bag. Most trade paperbacks don't fit nicely in a trade paperback bag here. And then we got Battle of the Planets number 4. I have 1 or 2 of these, so I'm not a big fan of it, of Battle of the Planets. I'm a fan of the cartoon series, but how they've been doing in the comics, not so much. Yeah, maybe have a little bit, but I was live for almost 3 hours earlier. Yeah, that's why I kind of figured that you're not probably don't want to make a physical appearance on screen, but yet nevertheless, it's like you have your questions, and I want to make certain that your questions get answered. And This one is covered up. This one is covered up, by the way, but it is the Unstoppable Doom Patrol #2, the glow in the dark here. I'm not certain if it's still charged or not. We want to see here in a second. No, I don't think it's charged up enough, but it is the kind of a glow in the dark. I don't have the black light here. Besides, I don't think I could get it dark enough where we could see it glow in the dark here. But the light from the screen and everything is not going to do much of nothing here. But that is the glow in the dark issue #2, which is pretty nice. Something that I didn't have, but it's kind of like one of those. Oh, it's niche enough, but it wasn't on my upper tier echelon to actually grab it here. We got another copy of Wonder Girl #6, the variant cover. And then we got Justice Society #1. This was an actual giveaway. This is Justice Society #1 special. And then we got a small little run of Sisterhood of the Steel. I believe I'm missing the last 3 issues here. I believe it was 9 issues total, but we got another copy of issue 1, another copy of issue #2, then 3, 4, 5, and 6. So a nice little run of Sisterhood of the Steel. And we got the full run of the very first Power Girl series here. So the first Power Girl series from issue #1, issue 2, 3, and 4. That's the full run of the very first run of Power Girl. We finally got another copy of New Mutants #1 for, I think this is volume 4 of New Mutants. And then just because of the simple fact that Marvel did do a short little mini series of when the Hulk was gray and was a mobster, we got Joe Fixit 1, Joe Fixit 2, and Joe Fixit 4. Hopefully that is a nice little fun little run here. And then we got Amazing Spider-Girl #2, another copy of Spider-Woman #8, and a pretty good replacement. Well, I wouldn't say replacement copy, but I think the one that I have in storage is not as good as this one, but this one has a little bit of dinginess right up in there. But there it is, another copy of Kyra #4, which is nice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that one is like that. That one is fun. Yep. I have all the spider ladies, but that is all of the new comic book pickups for the week. And I'm about to pick up all these books, and I got some books that need to stay here because that goes into some of the stuff that Aaron was asking me about. So we're going to put these books right there. And we're going to go into the actual updates here to get that over with, before we could get to Aaron and all of his questions here. Now, the question at the moment is, do he want to be live or did he want to do it from the chat? So that's only a decision that he can make here. So while he's making up his mind, let's go ahead and let people know there has not been any change of status as far as FemForce is concerned. I have not really been able to find much of the newer issues outside of buying them from AC Comics themselves. And if I bought it from them, let's just say, ouch, it's pricey. Ghost has been few and far between here as far as finding them on auction sites, for very, very cheap here. I probably got to go to different comic book websites here as far as, brick and mortar stores now. But I was hoping to find more of them, for like 49 cents and 59 cents, auctions, and buying them that way, because it seems like not too many people have been really into the series like that per se. The the Spirit series. We're down to the last 4 magazines. From Warren Publishing. Then we got a couple, maybe about like 30 or so issues left for the kitchen sink run here, and then the odds and ends stuff that I could find. Even the issue number 2 from Harvey Comics. I don't know why eBay has it for a high price, but I don't know. It's like it's not that rare, but it's also kind of hard to find. Just like the 1973 number 1, it's also hard to find from Kitchen Sink as well. The updates here, I've been holding off on 20 and 22 for volume 5, and since this is the most current run of Uncanny X-Men, I've not really been updating it that way. We said it's like Lil says, "Oh, I like the Spider Lady dark cover. Nice. Ooh. Yep. Yeah, we have the ghosties for you. Okay. Beanie will get the. I will take pictures and send you to. Okay. What compels you? Okay. So he's ready with his questions here. Okay, so let me finish up with the collector's update, and then the production update, and we go right into those questions. So keep those questions coming here, Aaron. The Wonder Woman stuff have not changed here. I still haven't pulled the trigger on 129 and 128 as of yet. Those books would probably end up running me like $30 to $40 a piece. Hopefully I could get them for less here, but we're in the tail end, the last 106. And then with the regular X-Men, it's just odds and end books here that like I said, it's like I just haven't been like dollar bin diving and stuff to that magnitude here. So with that being stated here, our production update here is that I'm almost finished with a new, if I could say, story chapter for an anthological story that goes into Legends of the Giantess Slayer here. It is another series that goes into it. So, issue number 3 and 4 would have this new story arc in it. One of those issues would have, well, actually, I can't say issue 3. It would be issue 4, issue 5 that will have it, but we're getting close to doing that here. We did some more work with the Amazonia because we people have been asking for when issue 8 is coming out and everything here. And we have to get back to finishing off not only issue number 6 of Primetime Saturday Night, we also have to finish off the way that the finishers and stuff work in the descriptions of the finishers in the role-playing game for Primetime Saturday Night. So all of that stuff is going to happen pretty soon here. So on that note, we're going to switch gears because Aaron has already been asking questions here. So Aaron, start off, and let me do this here. I'm also going to do one other thing here, just in case. This is just in case. So there is no pressure, but I think people will feel a little bit more comfortable if it was human to human dialogue than chat. But the reason why I didn't mind it being in chat here, because we got more people watching, because I get to see the people via the actual count that StreamYard has. So I know sometimes there's more people that actually comes on and actually say something in the chat here. So that's the reason why at first I wanted to make certain that people in the chat know it's okay to ask questions more so than anything else. So to answer the very first question here, what compelled you to write your first story in comic book form? Technically, this is not my very first story, but just to be fair, my first comic book story was really back in high school that I kind of lost all of the paperwork and pages and stuff that I did here. It was kind of like one of those things where, back in the day when you're fooling around in school and was making comic books and stuff to that magnitude here, it was just like, what you've kind of fantasized about in the very beginning. But there's other things that goes on. But why did I choose the comic book medium? Because of the simple fact that I love to draw, and people saw that I had the ability to illustrate stories in that aspect, in that format. So they always knew that I loved drawing superheroes. I love back in high school, and while I was in the service, while I was in the Air Force, I was always drawing superhero type stuff, kung fu type stuff on my spare time. And, people up here was like, well, why don't you just go into comics? And by the time I got out of the Air Force and went into college, I ended up meeting up with a couple of people, and we had like a comic book club, and one of those members got me into going into anime shows and everything. He was like, hey, I'm about to go into Artist Alley, come on with me and draw. So I did, and that really got me back into the more professional aspect of doing comics for part-time, and hopefully within maybe the next 5 years doing it permanently, because I can retire from my 9-to-5 job and do this full time here. So that was the first question here. So I'm up here waiting. It's like, I would like to know what got you into comics, but Matt will ask you that soon enough. Everybody's going to say that, whenever you get interviewed, and this is one of the things that I'm going to say as a whole here, when you do interviews here, and that's going to be like one of the things that they always ask, like, well, how do you get into comics? Why comics? This, that, and the other. It's like, pretty much it's more along the lines, like, either you have the passion to do it or not. And it's something that you did, you either drew a comic while you were in your younger days, or you've been drawing superheroes in your younger days. You're so enthused and so into this medium that it was just a natural progression to go into it. And that's always going to be, similar to everybody that gets into comics, that in some form or some fashion, they always have some type of love for this medium. Now, whether that they're good or not in this medium is a different story. But usually when people ask that question, it's pretty much the same thing. You're not going to have people, at least not too many people, come in and be like, oh, I got into comics because of the money and the fame. It's like, there's no money and fame in comics. We just love drawing the meaning. We love telling the stories in this format. That's pretty much what it is here. Oh, by the way, Aaron, I did send you the link if you did want to pop in to ask here. It's like, I'm eating right now, but I didn't prepare the interview. No, it's not about interviewing. It's more about, you had specific questions, because you was asking me stuff about primetime Saturday night. You wanted to ask me stuff about Amazonia. So that's the reason why I did this show, because I thought you had specific questions, and I was going to give people a lot more background information based upon those type of questions, not as far as why are they into comics. You specifically want to know why the universe is built the way that it is. And the best way for me to explain why the universe is built the way that it is for you to have the specific questions about the comic book titles that I write here. And there's Elaine. There's the editor who edits the majority of the series here. Not a problem here, Aaron. Okay, so she sent pictures of the books that they got here. So I know Aaron got a couple more questions, because he was asking me about why certain characters were made a certain way in primetime Saturday night and stuff to that matter. Those were the questions that I was prepared for. And we're going to let Matt do his thing on the 26th. For those who don't know, I'm going to be on Heroes for Hire. I believe that's the name of his show. Matt shows Heroes for Hire's comic book hangout. So he's going to interview me on May 26th. I believe that is a Tuesday. I believe we're going to do it probably sometime around 7 or 8 o'clock my time. So just be prepared for that. And hopefully I'm just going to show up and show out, and it's going to be a blast. We're going to have some fun, because I kind of figured that we're going to get into things about not only creating comics, but also the collecting side as well. It's the stuff that I like, stuff I don't like, stuff to that magnitude. And then Elaine said, I got a question. When do I get more sweet potato pie? When other people start making it, you know, for those who don't know, Elaine got gifted a whole sweet potato pie because somebody brought me a sweet potato pie for C2E2. And I'm like, I'm not a big fan of sweet potato pie. Here you go. You can have the whole thing. It's like the 5th of February on the 5th day. Why do giants exist so casually in your world in both Amazonian primetime Saturday night? That's a good question. That's a better question. And this is the thing. And this is the thing. My idea of a giant, as opposed to what most mythological do here, or what modern day consider a giant, like for example, Slamazon and Power Spike to me are not giants. Elisa and her mother are. And that's a little bit different. Now, the better question is, and I'm going to answer this one too, it's like the better question is, why are people more accepting of Elisa's size and possibly her mother's size later on when I get into the second story arc? Why are they accepting of it? Because I also made this world where having superpowers is not as frightening to people per se. There's people like Lieutenant Parsons that don't like superpowered individuals in Amazonia, but there are laws and stuff that's already in place in the Xigency Studios universe to accommodate for superpowered individuals, at least on the surface. Like for example, like most skyscrapers and stuff now have to have like a first floor to accommodate at least minimal heights of like 20 to 30 feet, just to accommodate people like Elisa or somebody could be a little bit taller. Those are the types of things that I really didn't get truly into, but I did mention those type of things in issue 2 and issue 3 of Amazonia, because I believe Karen came specifically out asking her that question to a certain degree, because she was the first one to notice that the bottom floor of her parents' house, the ceilings were really, really high, but when she got upstairs, it was a dramatic drop off. And she did, she never asked about the power set per se until a couple of other things that's going to happen, but more of how things work with Elisa in Amazonia is going to happen as we move further along into issue number 8, issue number 9, issue number 10, because a lot of those things comes to the forefront, and we see it physically, her power physically manifesting itself, where she can fit into spaces that is not accommodated for her. So that's one of the things here. But why do they exist casually? It's not really casually. It's just more along the lines that the universe itself, the DC Studios universe itself, is more geared towards accepting of people who have superpowers or super abilities. And one of those things happens to be, they try to do their best to accommodate people of Elisa's size here. Oh man, I got a secret. Yeah. So I'm going to go to a Jewish bakery tomorrow to get Danishes. Okay. I'm hitting Sam's Club Thursday, so I ain't going to come home without pastries. Okay. How is it that giants exist in your world? See, this is where Aaron, this is where I'm up here. I'm going to have you to suspend kind of disbelief here, because when people think of giants, they think of mythology. Giants exist regardless, especially if we use modern day definitions of giants. People feel that, individuals over 6'7" is like a giant. And I'm up there like, no, they just tall people. They're just tall. And when you look at it from that lens of what is somebody that's just really tall as opposed to being giant, you know, everybody talked about Wadlow, the Guinness Book World Holder, who was like 8'11". And then when you look at people that is shorter than he is, and when you look at people that shorter than he is, they're normally like 7'8", 7'6", stuff to that magnitude. They look at them as giants. So it's like, well, when you go back to things such as like the Holy Bible, it's like there were people in the Bible that was 13 foot tall and that walked around, but they were not considered mythical or anything to that magnitude. They're just like regular people, not anybody else here. So it's not like, why do they exist? It's like there's people that are just that tall. It's just that people don't really make a big fuss about it unless it is something that they need to make very, 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 if I could say it in this term, exaggerated to make it seem like it is something that it cannot be believed or behold. So it's not like, why do giants exist in that universe? It's just like people exist for the sake of people existing. That's just like saying, why do aliens exist in the world? It's like, we don't know, but there have been proven such things that that it's a good possibility that they do exist naturally. It's not like we're up here talking about, oh, we need to buckle down and fight a chimera. A chimera does not exist. That's something that came out of somebody's imagination. But people's idea of what a giant is one of those things that is left to what is real and what is imaginary. If you're in that modern definition, it's like, well, if somebody over 6'7" is considered a giant, then they've been living here for how long? It shouldn't be one of those things to be like, it's kind of weird that you have these type of people here. But if you in the imaginary range, then I have to ask, it's like, well, why are you stuck in the the mythological type aspects of it? Because when you get into the mythology of it, you have to ask, are we talking about Greek mythology? We're talking about some type of religious mythology, because they said that Nephilims were considered giants. And then there was other races that was mentioned in the Bible that would be considered giants as well. So you have to have to really like look at it from that aspect of, what do you mean by giant in that aspect here? It's like, not really Amazons. No, there's no need to duck or anything like that. Yeah, Robert Wadlow. Yep. So it's like you wrote that someone normally size can be attracted to. Yes. Well, again, that's one of the reasons why this book came about here, Legends of the Giantess Slayer. Because I took more of a psychological route with the adult aspect of it. And that's one of the reasons why, for the longest time, I was afraid to come out with this book, or at least do it this series here. I'm trying to get the glare out of it because I'm getting glare from the computer screen here. But that's the reason why I came out with this series here, because it's really need to be discussed about, why are some people attracted to taller women, and why, sometimes they get shunned, and sometimes they feel, sometimes they're up here like, feel kind of like alienated. It's like taller guys are not really into taller girls per se sometimes, and vice versa. It's just one of those things to kind of like take a look into, and play around with the psychological aspects of it, while at the same time talk about all the different myths here. Because one of the things that I noticed, and one of the reasons why I took up the job of doing this anthological series, is that we rarely talk about female giants. Every time we talk about giants, we talk about males. It's very rare that we talk about females. And when we do talk about females, it's kind of like what you hitting on here. It's like, why is it always sexual? Why is it always dealing with breeding? I mean, it is what it is. But it's just one of those psychological avenues to go down to explore in a fictional way, to kind of highlight those things that where some people may find as a kink, some people may not find it as intriguing. It's many different things here. But the one thing that is the core of this series here, and this is one of the things that I want to make certain that for those who know how I write about different things here, the bottom line is going to always come back down to compatibility. People are compatible by different means and different aspects here. There's a such thing as being sexually compatible. There's another one by being mentally compatible. To be compatible to a person can run many different gambits here, but that's going to be kind of like the overall thing across everything here. We're going to talk about some of the kinks, some of the weirdness that actually happens, of why people are attracted to certain things dealing with this topic. But also the other side stories are fictional stories that gets into like the differences of why we really don't talk about female legends and like this type of stuff, and we create actual legends. One of the stories that get talked about, and it could have actually been its own comic book series. It's called the story is called it's called Carnaval de Gigante Femme. It is my first attempt into horror, and it's not the type of horror as like, oh, it's gore and blood and all this other stuff. It may have some of it, but it's more of a psychological horror. It's about people being more or less lonely, or people being, trying to find love. But at the same time, going to this one carnival to find said love can cost you your life, based upon whether or not you can find true compatibility. That's one of the stories that I truly focus about compatibility, about people making the right choices as far as who they mate with, who they attract to. Are they truly in love, or are they in lust? Stuff to that magnitude. So that's one of those series that, we get so far in issue number 1. We start in on one of the, if I could say, this is the prelude chapters. We didn't get into the main story. I did a 6. No, is it 6 or 5? Give me 1 second. Because usually with Legends of the Giant Slayer, I tell things in the series either in 6 to 8 pages, and each 6 to 8 pages is really one chapter into the stories, into the stories that I actually created. It's like the bigger stories are a lot longer than 6 pages, but I'm giving you to people in chunks because there's so many different stories that I have to tell in this series that it didn't make any sense to focus it, give the lecture and then focus it on one story. It's like we have multiple stories running at a given time here. And I'm just trying to get to now my, come on. Now the hard drive is not acting right. Great. I don't know why. Okay, that one worked. Why is it not seeing this drive? Okay, now it's working. Don't know why there was such a lag. So the prequel story, before we get into the main story, I believe is like 6 chapters. And that one is actually completed because I made certain that I had that completed all the way to the end. And a tad bit of a spoiler, pay attention to what is said at the very end about the woman that was there. That's going to be the key thing here. Carnival de Giganta it's 4. I did it in 4 chapters. So that one is going to be done within like the first 4 issues of Legends of the Giantess Slayer, I believe, unless I put in a different story in its place here. But that is 4 chapters in that prequel story. Yeah, Nephilims. Yep. That's like I call them giants because they are over 10 feet tall. That's a giant. So it's like when my people come over and it's like, no harm comes to Joe by the order of Beanie. I didn't ask that, why they exist. I asked they exist in your universe that you create. It's like I asked how they exist in your universe that you create. And I explained why they exist. It's like I write based upon what I know and what I see. And people up there are like, well, somebody that's over 10 feet tall. It's like, yeah. I mean, we got people who are 7 foot, 7 foot tall. We have people that was, that did reach 8 foot. So it's not impossible for somebody that's 10, 12, and in Lisa's case, 18'6", but even then she's still in her growth state, but that gets explained later in the series. It's like, okay, she's asking if Beanie and Lil's like mermaids. Yes, they do. And she's going to send in some things about that. It's like, what do you think of it's like, what do you think is appealing about the heroines, or are they just female action figures? To be quite honest here, to be quite honest, I'm not understanding your question. Female action figures in general. My question, it's like, I don't want to answer your question with a question, because again, it's like you're making it sound like this is a gender-based question here. Now, if you're asking me personally how I feel about heroes, especially, when it comes to gender, I feel a lot of times that when it comes to writing stories, people don't write very good women-led titles, period. I can see the quality of a lot of these titles as far as female, characters. They're pretty bad. Not because of the lack of trying, but it's more along the lines of understanding how to write it and how to understand how they may think of the same situation and how they would deal with the situation. This is one of the things that, if you ever notice, Elaine and I will have conversations that would last hours over stories that I wrote. And because of the way that characters react. It's not easy. Just like, and this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of glad that I have worked with people who have always told me, it's like, it's hard to draw male characters. I was like, it's not hard to draw male characters. It's hard to do females. As a male, it's hard for me to deal with female characters. And that's one of the reasons why I push myself to do more female characters than male characters. As far as I'm concerned, it's like when it comes to male characters, we've done what we could possibly do for male characters. It's nothing new up under the sun. It's just more along the lines of how you tell that story that makes it different. When it comes to women characters, I think we could still push the envelope. But here's the problem. What is considered too sexy? What is considered nonsense? What is considered, male fantasy and not actually telling a story? You have to look at those three items here and try your best to remove those thoughts from the reader. Because if your reader picks up those type of things, they're going to run with it and say it's like, this is a TNA book. It has no story on it. That's one of the reasons why I always pick on Xenoscope, because Xenoscope came out that way as TNA books. But as they grew popularity, they actually finally got good writers. But the gauntlet has already been thrown. A lot of people have written them off for the sexy covers. Not too many people went back and started reading the stories. And when the stories got good, everybody just wanted to buy them for the covers. And that's a major, big problem with doing women characters. And then Elaine said everybody wants to read a story with a protagonist that represents them. And this is, that representation should have no gender bias. Should. And when I say should, because when I look at myself, people look at me strange. It's like, well, how come you don't identify more with Batman and Superman? It's like, because to me, they're kind of fake. I see more myself vibing with Wonder Woman because she kind of represents the ideals that I may have with a lot of situations. I'm not always the one to like, oh, let's go in and do this, that, and the other. It's like, well, there might be another way to handling it. It's like, this person is really having a problem because they don't have the money to go and get this, the operation for it to save somebody important. So instead of locking them up, let's try to find a way to, talk them down out of stealing something and figure out a way to get them what they need. That's how Wonder Woman will approach the problem. Has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman hero and everything, but it's just the mentality that they bring into it, which makes a major difference here. I read the first few issues of Primetime Saturday Nights. So far, they have not shown superpowers. Oh, they have. That's where you're kind of wrong here. Throughout Primetime Saturday Night, the one thing that I did have to warn readers about here, in the wrestling match itself, there's certain rules that comes into play. You can't do anything like power blast or key blast or throw fireballs or anything to that magnitude. It is pure wrestling. Now, the thing that I show, and is very, very, very subtle, starting from issue number 1, Slamazon versus Jungle Cat, I shown Juggernaut, Jungle Cat's super speed. I show everybody super strength, especially Maxi Muscle. I'm not certain if you got that far as of yet, with especially Maxi Muscle versus Goddess Leah. And then if you got to issue number 5, the Maxi Muscle versus Brick House, that was just superhuman strength versus superhuman strength in the ring. Issue number 4, the the luchador corner duel, the aerial duel that took place between Mano Majestic and Juggernaut, that ended up in a. So I didn't ruin it for you because I didn't tell you what the decision really is. I just stopped myself. But superpowers do get shown here, but it's so subtle that you don't realize that superpowers are being used. Just like the controversy with Brickhouse was psionic suggestion, but people don't see it. It's subtle. It's so subtle that it makes it ingenious to tell it the way that I tell it in Ring. People need to pay attention to what people are saying, what people are doing here. With Glory, when she realized that her right eye was uncovered, she goes back to Helga and says, watch out for this at this time. She actually used her powers of seeing future. But yet, you're up here saying, well, there's no superpower so far. And it's like, oh, there's a lot. I just write it very subtly. And you just have to catch on to it. So that makes it, that would make that series very, very good in my aspect here, because as long as I could keep it subtle and not just hit you over the head that, oh, this person is doing a super jump. It's like, oh, Brickhouse just hit Slammer's on like 20 feet up in the air, and he jumps up and grabs her and does a backbreaker 20 feet up in the air. An average wrestler does not hit a person that high up in the air. I'm sorry. It's just the way and the subtlety of the storytelling. And if I'm doing it that subtle where you're not recognizing it, then I'm doing a good job writing wise. Because you're seeing pro wrestling match, which is my goal. Not overly pronounced, hitting you over the head. Somebody's using this power and they're up here about to get ready to cheat type stuff. No, we try to keep it real. This is pro wrestling. If I wanted to write something that was like a fight, like a Dragon Ball Z, I would do it. But no, this is pro wrestling. I have to sit back and really think and build these cards just like you will watch it on television. And then I have to figure out how to make their powers work. I believe in issue number 5, I talked about the subtlety about how Power Spike seemed like she was taller than what she really was. That was actually mentioning of the power. Yep. Yeah. Otherwise, you're suggesting that women, people of color, or what you have cannot or deserve to be. No. Representation to me is more or less how you perceive the story. Do you get the same type of story? Let's take Wonder Woman, for example. It doesn't matter what Diana's race is. It tells the exact same way. It may matter about gender in some cases. But if you take out the stuff about her being a female and look at what she does as a hero, as is, her gender doesn't matter anymore. It's up to us, the reader, to find something that we identify with within the character, whether it be its motivation, their actual heroism, their mentality, to find that representation. Just because the character is black doesn't necessarily mean that people would find themselves in them. One of the, like I said, I always go back to the story about, and I know, Elaine, you have met Kimberly Mosberry, or if you have not, you have heard about this story before. And I always go back to the story about what happened at I want to say it was no, actually it was the very first. It was the very first C2E2. This one lady came over and complained about Juggernaut and talked about, well, why Juggernaut's chest so big. And before I could say anything, Kimberly came back and says, like, well, you have to think about it this way. You're complaining about someone that has the same attributes as you. And she was the first one that caught on to that, because I did not, really look at this woman or anything, but she says, like, no, you got big boobs. She has big boobs. You see her and you start to identify with her. And you didn't like what you see. And I was like, Kimberly, that's a very good argument. Because we as writers and artists do put up that mirror for we could say that a character is nothing more than a reflection of what you could be. So it has nothing to do with gender, which race, which ethnicity, which religion. It's about, can you find a quality within that character that represents you? And that's the best way I could put it here. How we got started? Way we got started, I believe it was Anime Central 2007. One of my very first anime shows that I did in an artist alley. And I sold zero. Why? Because I don't do manga. But at least I didn't do manga at the time. I was doing nothing but more than American comic book stuff. But we happened to be situated around people who did comics. And they was looking at our stuff and everything. They was up here, chatting about the professional stuff and everything. And then they started telling me about, oh, you could go over here to get books, printed. You could go over here to do this, or you could go over here to do that. And I'm sitting up here looking at the guy that, I shared the booth with, because he was the reason why he got me back into doing the comic book stuff here. And we started out the process of like, you know what? Let's come out with your story. We were going to come out with his story, one of his stories first. And it's like, he was going to draw, I was going to help him write it. And, we're going to try to tag team this. So he was up here. It's like, well, I'm not serious. I'm not ready. I don't know about this. I don't know about that. It's like, okay, fine. It's like, this is what we could do. Let's go ahead and develop our stuff here. And we're going to go ahead and develop it. And we're going to move forward. By the time we get to Wizard World 2009, I had already did the very first version of Amazonia #1 and had it printed up, and went to Wizard World with that. And from that point forward, we just kept moving forward. Yeah, the South Side Curb Stomp. Yep, she likes that. She likes that. If I could say, that tag team finisher. Oh, I remember the super speed. Are there reasons for superpowers explored in your world here? In that world, yes. When I deal with AWF, you have to understand that the wrestlers don't know the full extent of their powers after yet. They know bits and pieces, the things that do hamper them, but they don't know the full extent of what they can do. So that's the reason why the parent book here, for AWF, talks more about what it's like for them to, behind the scenes here, and how they're coping with the actual powers, while Primetime Saturday Night deals solely with the pro wrestling. So yes, that does come into play in the parent book, AWF. more so about how they deal with the superpowers and why it's getting explored in that aspect here. Well, I will let you guys in on a secret here because it's wrestling is not scripted in the full Xigency Studios universe. It's only scripted for that title for AWF and primetime Saturday night. Now, there is a link between Amazonia and AWF at primetime Saturday night because there's one character that is believed to be the first one to join the AWF that changed the direction of that federation. And I won't tell you that as of yet. I might do a free comic book day or something story on that here, but my free comic book day story that I want to tell with AWF, I have told to a handful of people and I made them cry. And it will be a AWF story, behind the scenes type deal, and not a primetime Saturday night issue here. Yeah, back in 1982, Joe picked up a pencil. I like that. That one was funny here. That one was funny, but that's kind of like the best way I could explain that because it's not really about pro wrestling here. Now, if you really want to know how I came about AWF as a series, it's because of, ironically enough, Marvel Comics Ben Grimm, The Thing. In Thing Volume 1, if you remember, you had the Unlimited Class Wrestling Federation. And they had the Grapplers. And back when I was still in college, I picked up those books. I was like, you know what? With, video games being the way that they were, it's like you had Marvel Superheroes, the fighting game that came out. You had X-Men Children of the Atom. You had X-Men versus Street Fighter. You had Fantastic Four games. You had Spawn games and everything. So during that time, I was in my early days of doing 3D graphics in Poser. I think by that time it was Poser 3. I was using either Poser 3 or Poser 4. And I started doing mock-ups of the characters, of the grapplers for that. And I presented an idea to Marvel to do a grapplers video game. It fell through. Pretty much it's kind of like, thanks for asking us, but no. And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of sad at this, that, or the other, blah, 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 blah. Another year go about, and I started redesigning the characters, and I started designing my own characters to come out with the AWF franchise at that point. Now, at that point in time, I wasn't taking it seriously because I was focusing in on Amazonia again, Amazonia nice and tight and ready to go. So Wizard World 2009, while I was working on issue number 2 at the Artist Alley table, I met a young, plucky artist by the name of Kimberly Mosberry that came and was like looking at the book. It was like this, that, or the other. And then she came across, was like, "You thinking about doing a wrestling book?" It's like, yes. You know what? The wrestlers that you design looks like actual female wrestlers. They don't look like, fitness models or people who shouldn't be in the ring. They look like actual wrestlers. And I was like, okay. Are you planning to develop a book for it? It's like, yeah, I think I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to do it right away. I'm interested in drawing it. And at that point, I kind of stopped what I was doing here. It's like, we started talking about where things could go and this, that, and the other. And she drew issue 2, 3, and 4 for me. And by that time, by the time she got to through issue number 4, she got a little bit of the bug here, and she created her own series called Enigma. And Enigma was born from there. But that's how the AWS series actually came about. It came about because I failed to garners Marvel's interest in their own creation, the Grapplers. Now, to think, if Marvel would have paid attention to me during that time, we could have had an unlimited class wrestling as a title by now. And it probably would have been up under the same type of format of what I'm doing with Primetime Saturday Night, but not graphically. It would still be hand drawn and everything. I probably would have like an artist or something with me, a team of artists working with me from their league. But writing wise, it would probably be on the same caliber because I would have made it. It's going to be like WWE, AEW. We are not deviating from that format. You are going to get a full fight card each and every issue. We're going to have storylines. We're going to be working our tails off to make this the best wrestling comic ever. And that's, how that series came about here. Benjamin Jacob Grimm is my favorite. But that's how that's how AWF came about. Now, Primetime Saturday Night came about because by the time we got through issue number 3, people could play is like, where's the wrestling? I need more wrestling. You need to do more wrestling in this book. And I thought about it. It's like, you know what? You got a point. Because the behind the scenes stuff is not going to have wrestling every issue. And it's going to be awfully hard to talk about the specifics that happen in the ring when you don't get to see what's going on in the ring. So I started out, did the first issue of Primetime Saturday Night to kind of continue on the controversy that was talked about in issue number 3 about the whole Brick House Juggernaut controversy about how Juggernaut lost her title. And eventually, by the time we got to the tail end of the first story arc at issue number 3, I'm up here. It's like, you know what? It's not fair. Let me go ahead and give everybody the actual pay-per-view that caused Juggernaut to lose her title in the first place. So that's the reason why we had an issue 0. And then from there, it's like everything just worked out the way that it did. So, those are the types of things that I look at here, more so than anything else here. And that was kind of like one of those things that, came up here. Like, for example, I remember on, I think it was on your claims show here, you asked about in issue number 2 of Primetime Saturday Night, how did somebody who Diva Go's pedigree get beat by Slamazon? And I have to remind you, and I'm not certain if you read issue number 3 of AWF, Slamazon did beat Brick House in her tryout match. So she had the ability to beat her. That's how she became a member of AWF, because she had to get tried out, and Brick House was the one that stepped up. Not Brick House. Diva Go was the one that stepped up to take her on. And I do have to say, in the tryout, she did get lucky. But after that match, Juggernaut started to train her. So when we get to issue number 2 of Primetime Saturday Night, that is a fully trained Slamazon, as opposed to a rookie coming, who's just coming into the league here. Yep. Yeah. So I think I have it here. So this is the issue where the tryout actually happened. And this is the issue where it was talked about what actually happened between Slamazon and Juggernaut. So that's where that came about here. However, hopefully, if you continue on reading it and get to me and continue on and allow me to get to, I believe, issue number 8 for the championship match, there's going to be a rematch. There's going to be a rematch between Diva Gold and Slamazon. I think you're going to find that interesting. Very, very interesting. But nevertheless, it is what it is here. I'm seeing that there's 3 people on. I know if we had as much as 6 people on, I'm not certain if there's any more questions dealing with the behind the scenes or how the Xigency Studios universe is. See, I want me to give spoilers. I'm not going to give no spoilers. And besides, you have a handicap. You have a handicap here because you kind of know how my mind thinks. So I don't give spoilers, but she's up here. It's like, yeah, she's going to put her money on Diva Gold. Is she going to be right or is she going to be wrong? Only I will know. But outside of that, other questions. That's like I know Aaron has some more questions here. You know, y'all want spoilers. Y'all want spoilers. Y'all really want spoilers? Do you really want the spoilers? Because I just want you to think about one thing. If you really want the spoiler, what age did I say that we're in now after issue number 3? If you remember what age that I said, that should be your clue. Actually, I want some sleep. Yeah, but no, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like I have mentioned before. It's like I have moved this into a particular age that's going to happen in primetime Saturday night. And if you remember what I said, that is the spoiler. And that's as far as I'm going to go. And to me, it's a good spoiler because when said character makes it past the story arc, the caliber of wrestling also changes. Well, I won't say that you're not contractually obligated, but I'm the one that really controls the keys to the kingdom about how it will happen. So it depends on how much you talk, depends on how much I might have to change plans. So far, 4, because I have not worked on issue number 5 as of yet. It's only 4. It's only 4 issues of AWF. No, you have say so as far as if stuff makes sense and everything. So I think you know where I'm going with it. I think I know I think I know that you know where I'm going with who actually wins at the very end in this next championship match. However, it's like I just can't have you, ruining everything. So I was like, I have to keep some type of mystery. It's almost like how, if I could say, Dan Slott was up here trying to tell us, it's like, oh, the Red Hulk could be anybody. That's like, come on, Dan. You already messed everything up. It's like, what do you mean you already messed everything up? It's like the Red Hulk already used the word milksop. There's only one character that ever used that term in Hulk history. It was Thunderbolt Ross. So Red Hulk is Thunderbolt Ross. And he was like, maybe, maybe not. So you want to change the speech patterns then? And he just got quiet and we left it alone. And we left it alone. But that's kind of like the thing that I was saying is like when it comes to spoilers. While everybody else is up here figuring out all these other characters, like if you know Hulk history, it's like only one character used the word milksop in his vocabulary. And that was Thunderbolt Ross every time he described Banner. Every time. He was a milksop. He said it as Red Hulk. That's like, it's Thunderbolt Ross. You can't get around that. But no, when it comes to you and Ray, it's like, you could do subtle spoilers, but like I said, eventually I will be the one that has to write the story, and I may throw some surprises up in there. But I know for a fact who's going to win. And I think you know who's going to win. Because you like what I did in issue number 5. With the last match that I did in issue number 5. You like how I stated what I stated. The question becomes, was it a fluke? Is she still hungry? All that comes into play. And it also plays into the whole role of if you ever watch pro wrestling, when a wrestler gets a major push and becomes a champion, did the push come before they were really ready for it or not? I would leave it at that. So those are your hints. Those are your speculations. Now, I would like to hear your speculations. That what makes things fun. And no, I won't be dumbfounded like Dan Slott was, but I know who's going to win. And if people did guess it, I'm happy for you, because that tells me you've been paying quite much attention to Primetime Saturday Night, and I appreciate it. Because now you're beginning to really feel like one of those fan members that if this was on television, you will watch it. It'd be like, having like a Dave Meltzer, people doing like Dave Meltzer reports on what we're doing. That's the way that I kind of feel about that as a whole here. I did answer that question, I believe. I'm just waiting for more questions here. 4 issues of AWF here. I still haven't completed issue number 5. And that's one of the bad things about it. With having 4 titles to deal with now, it's kind of hard to focus in on one story and just get things in order here. Okay, well, I'm going to get up extra early tomorrow here. I will yell at you lovelies folks later. Well, we'll see you this upcoming Thursday, Elaine. Have a good night here. And I might actually call it early here, because it seems like the questions it's like Aaron and his questions are getting slower and slower. Well, get the other slacker. No, but it's like Aaron has some good questions that he may mention in passing. I just want him to ask those questions now. He was asking a lot of in-depth questions, and it's like very intuitive questions. It's like, like the whole Diva Gold thing and the Elisa Masters questions. It's like, yeah, those are very good questions here. And build your UFO too. Being's like, how come you have model kit and you don't build model? It doesn't make sense. It's like the whole purpose to buy a model kit is to build the model. But I get it here. But those are the types of questions here. It's like I enjoy those questions from those who read the actual series and they want to come and ask and be about, hey, I read this in story. How come the story says it this way? And why do you think it should go that way? Those are the types of questions that I like. These are the types of things that led to Marvel having like a no prize, because if they mess up something in continuity, they have to get fixed. And that's the reason why the no prize was so important, because it was not just mentioning that there was an error, it was mentioning the error and giving them a legitimate fix for it. And if you came up with a legitimate fix, they would give you a prize. Now, whether or not I get to write these things long enough where we have continuity mistakes or somebody else takes over the writing and does something out of continuity, I might have to do that. Figure out some type of prize to give people to fix these types of things here. So I guess I answered all of Aaron's questions. So that gives you guys. Oh no, here he is. Here he is. And I wonder how. I was wondering how Slamazon and Upstart could take Diva Gold, but you answered it. Plus, I have to read a few other primetime Saturday nights. I will say one other thing that may be a spoiler. It may be. The first time that they fought in AWF, Diva Gold underestimated her. The second time, when it was for real, when the number one contendership was on the line, Slamazon was on a mission. And Diva Gold underestimated how bad she wanted to find out. This next time, you're just going to have to read to find out. But that's the key thing here. And usually you are right. Normally somebody that is a veteran at something normally mops the floor with an amateur, unless the amateur is just that lucky. But in this case here, we got past the luck in issue number 2 of AWF, because she underestimated her. She got, Slamazon got lucky, this, that, and the other. She has like, iron will determination, and she found a way to get past it. The second time, there was something on the line here. And Slamazon was dead set after being trained. Now, this third time, I feel that they're almost on even footing. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Third time, about to be war. Third time, about to be a war. And it's like, oh, okay, I like that. Yep. Well, that's one of the reasons why Elaine helps a lot. Elaine helps a lot with that, because she's not used to wrestling terms, but she's used to how conversations are. And she's up here, it's like, she didn't understand the idea of a heel-like commentator in Coca sometimes, so I had to dial back on Coca as opposed to the straight-up, honest, this is what's happening in the ring with Patrick. So Coca, I kind of play around with her from time to time as far as how she will react to certain wrestlers. There's certain wrestlers that she likes, and there's going to be certain ones that she can't, she just despises. So sometimes she's going to be heel-like, and sometimes she's going to be face-like, depending on the wrestler. Patrick is going to be the even one unless he knows that they're going to be straight up unadulterated heel is supposed to be somebody that the crowd is supposed to hate here. I made a fan on Bandcamp to follow you. Yep. Yep. Well, for those who don't know, Aaron also does music, by the way. That was the reason why here. But I'm not. You say, well, it's like from what I could tell, you like primetime Saturday night more. And there's Parallax's Bandcamp account here. But from what I could tell here is that Aaron seems to like primetime Saturday night more. And I believe that Parallax likes Amazonia more. And as of right now, I haven't had too many people complain about Legends of the Giantess Slayer as of yet. But I really need to get back on Amazonia and AWF, because AWF number 5 starts talking about Diva Gold and how she was raised. And I think that would be releasing AWF 5 around the time we get to that championship match also explains a lot too. Yeah, Joe, I had 3 listening parties. Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, but yeah, I like Amazonia too. Okay. Oh, okay. So a lot of albums and CDs here. So I'm hoping that on the 26th that Matt is a pretty good interviewer, because he might mess around and find out my other secret power. One of the things that people still try to get me to do it, because when I was really heavy into doing Kickstarters and helping people with their Kickstarters, people used to love jumping on my show and having me to ask them about their projects and stuff. I'm pretty good with the interview process and trying to get people to like them and not just talk about the books. And that's the key thing. People need to like you as the creator just as much as they like the books. Because if they like your story, that's one thing. But when you start getting to the point where you can't be personable, that also hurts yourselves in the long run too. Yeah, you need to read issue 3, because issue 3 explains a lot, and the resolution between Slamazon's investigation about what actually happened in that championship match by fighting her for the championship, fighting Brickhouse for the championship, explains a lot, and how she reacted. How Slamazon reacted to what happened to her fighting Brickhouse explains a lot. And how she reacted after everything was over shows you what type of person Slamazon is. Now, mind you, that's the wrong one. Slamazon is a college student. That's one of the reasons why you probably have to read the AWF. So she is a college student. She is what I would consider somewhere in between like a D1 and a D3 athlete. So she's no slouch. She's no slouch per se. However, she does not know the full extent of her powers or all this other stuff either. And this is when people around her really finds out that she actually has superhuman ability too. MC McPhee. Yep. Yes. AWF explains backstory. So if you want to know about individual characters, you have to come to the AWF books. So the first 4 AWF books really deals more with Slamazon, and then issue number 5 starts where we talk about Diva Gold. The free comic book day one that I want to do would deal more with Helga. Yes, go enjoy Heroes Con, because everybody's up here. It's like, hey, we going to Heroes Con. We going to Heroes Con. I was like, Heroes Con should have been, come and gone and everything. I don't know why everybody's still trying to go to Heroes Con, but go and enjoy Heroes Con. It'll be worthwhile and everything. And you never know. You might. It's like there might be people who have bought some of my books through Kickstarters and stuff, and it popped up. I was surprised that it popped up in Space Cadets collections. That issue number one popped up over there. 7. There's 7 Amazonia issues. I'm working on issue number 8, so there's 7. I need to reread my bookies. Yep. Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that actually happens in the behind the scenes in the thinking about the creation of these books here. Like for example, Amazonia AWF and Primetime Saturday Night has a connection to it. The Legends of the Giants and Slayer has no connection to the other 3 books. So far, it doesn't. I'm not certain if I want this series, the adult series, connected to the other 3, I should say. 6. And the reason I say 6 Primetime Saturday Night, because it starts from an issue 0. So there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which just came out. I'm working on issue number 6, where a certain other individual who is in the chat is waiting to have their character make their debut. Oh yes. When that happens, you guys are going to hear it. You're going to have her be like, y'all better buy it by like the 20 and 30s copies. Matter of fact, since we are on the topic of how I develop the universes and everything here, do I have enough here where I could do a quick little preview? Before we call it a night here. Now the hard drive is actually zoning down. All right, Photoshop, do your thing. I know I hate dead air and not really talking much. I'm just trying to see if it will pop up with the stuff that we need here. Okay. It's loading. Yep. Here we go. We're going to do a quick preview of issue number 6. So when I tell people that we do when we do the production updates, I literally am talking about the books that we are working on and how we go about making certain that we stay on target and stay within the parameters and making certain that we have books ready for people. Yeah, I got a 9-to-5 job, but once I am retired, I should be able to work on this type of stuff a lot faster, quicker, without any impedance of having to worry about how I'm going to pay rent, how I'm going to pay for electric and gas and for food and all this other stuff here. it is what it makes things a lot easier on everybody in the long run. Here, but we're going to do this real quick, and we're probably going to bid you guys adieu. And here we go. I got it all loaded up and nice and pretty. And nice and pretty for everybody here. And this is just the first couple of pages of issue number 6 that we're going to show real quick. So, yep, there we go. The first page here. The second page. And then we got them, talking about what they saw and everything, and getting to everything. And then we get into the first match where Boosie's is going to be in singles competition here after it's been announced that Goddess Lee is actually helping her out. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, storyline brewing. Also, we also have to finish up with the team tournament that is going on here. So we got a couple more preliminary tag team tournament matches to have on this issue as we narrow it down to where we get to the pay-per-view, where we have the Diva Gold Slam-a-thon fight, the 2 remaining tag teams that is in the tournament face one another for the tag team title belts. We're going to have a intercontinental title bout with Olympia, who is currently the intercontinental champion. There's a lot of nice stuff that's going to happen on primetime Saturday night. So just be prepared for that here. Yeah, all you mofos in PSG chat better buy 5 copies of each. I mean, that's just the way that it works here. AARP, yep. And surprisingly enough, I could join it now because of my age. I hate that. I don't have Facebook pulled up on the laptop here. So, yep, that is the sneak peek of what we got so far. I actually got more panels done. I just haven't put them in page format as of yet. So that's where we're at as of right now. Not certain if there's any. I'm not certain if there's any more questions. If they're not, we're going to call it a night here. So if there's more questions about what you guys want to know about the Xigency Studios universe, let me know now, or forever hold your peace until maybe March 26th, because you never know what Matt may come up with here. Gone, daddy, gone. Yep. So that's pretty much it here. I want to thank everybody for coming by. Thank you again, Aaron, for all the questions and everything that you had here. Sorry, phone was weird. Yeah, Batman is a smart fellow. Yep. So I thank everybody for coming by. I thank those who have been watching and who was afraid to comment or ask questions. Maybe next time, you can always stop by, because I do the show primarily for you guys. You can ask me anything at any given time. I try my best to answer that question as best as possible here. And being wills to listen to every word, and they are clapping. So pretty much, that's what everything boils down to as far as how the universe is forming as is. There might be more titles coming on down the line here, but I highly doubt it, because these 4 books are kicking my ass as is already here. And being one of the few creators that have more than one issue for 4 titles. Now, granted, I only released issue number 1 this year, but like I said before, 2 and 3 is already done. I just haven't given it to Elaine to edit as of yet, before we could go ahead and send it to print. So 2 and 3 of Legends of the Giant Slayer is already done. So I try to work ahead. So I don't feel like, oh, I have to stop everything and do it issue number 2. So it is what it is here. So on that note, since there's no more questions, I bid you guys adieu. Live life, grow, and be well. And we're out of here for the week. And that means my East Coast people would get about 20 minutes of their Saturday left before they go into the future. And everybody else, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. See you guys next week right here on Comic Books. Oh, I'm about to say Comic Book Spectrum. Why I'm thinking about Comic Book Spectrum is Thursday. Today's Saturday. It's from the Desk of Small Press Publisher. And Arian saying good night. And I'm saying good night. Be well, enjoy, and relax. And night from everybody. See ya.